Good morning and a warm welcome to everyone. Dr. Seuss once said, the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. Neev is honored to host the first ever Children's Literature Festival of this kind in our country. We are here to trailblaze a literary tradition that we and the future Neev students will carry with them as they grow. This is not an experience we will keep to ourselves, but spread around so that our immediate community and world at large reap the benefits and pleasure of such a remarkable initiative. As a student of Neev, I have experienced the joy of reading from a very early age. Characters and stories have left an indelible mark on me, teaching me lessons that have been immensely valuable. Today, we will have the pleasure of hearing and interacting with renowned literary figures, be surrounded by books of various kinds, and simply soak in the joy of the literature world. I am sure we all agree that books are our best friends, and reading takes us on a journey of imagination, discoveries, and experiences, engaging our senses as we embark on the journey into the worlds of authors and poets who have taken great pains in bringing forth their life's discoveries out in the printed word. A reader lives 1,000 lives, and a man who never reads lives but one. On that note, let me tell you what a great pleasure it is for me to welcome you on a morning like this, on our first ever literature festival. You are our coveted guests, and I am hopeful that you will take back much more than what you came here with. नमस्ते, मैं हूँ साधना, कक्षा 7 से। आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत है। आज हम सब मिलके साहित्य का जश्न मनाएंगे। ನೀವ್ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಉತ್ಸವಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಲು ನನಗೆ ಗೌರವವಾಗಿದೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. NLF 1.0 is Neev's dream to create a platform in India that brings together creators, readers, and influencers of children's literature from India and around the world, in a serious conversation that lets all children and adults, writers, parents, and educators walk away thinking. We worry today that our children don't read as much as they used to, and yet trends tell us a different story, one we need to worry about more. Children read differently. They access literature and knowledge in many forms. The diversity in children's literature is exploding. Formats, genres from literary non-fiction to science fiction, historical fiction, dystopia, and much else. Children and families that read, as a result, are reading much, much more and gaining from this explosion. But the flip side of the coin, children that don't read are getting left further and further behind. That is truly the issue to worry about. Children will spend lesser time in deep reading unless encouraged. Reading is a cultivated habit. Reading widely is a developed taste. We need to make space for reading in our day, in our minds, and in our hearts. Children's reading begins way before they read themselves. And this leads to many benefits: a better vocabulary, imagination, and emotional strength, setting up for greater success academically and eventually in work. Reading is a social habit. Reading alone is a later in life pursuit once ability and preferences are firmly established. Yes, it is the time that we as parents and educators dream of, a child deeply absorbed in a good book. But it won't happen unless we do many things differently in our homes and in our schools. Reading begins entirely as a social activity, starting with a parent reading aloud to a child, then reading with the child and discussing stories, ideas, and settings. Parents are the first teachers, the first role models for children. Children who see reading do reading. In school, it starts also with read alouds. Guided reading and then engaged in-class reading, creating discussions from reading, through book discussions, building work that is not didactic, but that needs research, reflection, and viewpoints, always growing that ability to read. Children need to be actively taught the basic skills of reading in more than one language, at least until grade 3. Beyond grade 3, the skills become more complex, but these also need to be taught. Reading for purpose, to find information, reading for fun, reading to share stories and nurture imagination. Reading to recognize writing styles, reading analysis, reading to write. This is everything that we do at Neev and more. Friendships get defined based on reading habits. All of it encourages children that read to read more and more and more. So we need to start early. The global average for parents reading aloud to children, to young children, is 55%. And yet in India, we are surely way below that in any social class. Reading is not intentionally, unfortunately, included in our schools, other than for teaching the basic skills. Young children need to spend many hours a day building a love of reading, besides building the ability. Older children need to spend even more time reading. They also need to continuously develop their ability as a reader. Strong readers make strong writers. If writing is about articulating opinions, reading is about educating those opinions. Older children need to spend twice the amount of time reading versus writing. So if they spend 4 to 5 hours a day writing, do the math. For younger children, that need changes by an order of magnitude. Reading needs to be 10 times versus writing. Where is the time? It must be found between school and home, during the academic year and in holidays. The immense value of early reading needs to be understood. The value of building reading as a growing habit needs to be understood. Grow to read to grow is the mantra at Neev, something that we constantly think about and work on. A few of our readers today will share their relationship with reading. But not all children read strong, read wide, read deep. Unless we find a way to work together, all our children will not be strong readers, will not choose to read, will get left behind. So where is it all going, finally? Why all the stress about reading? The world of work is changing. Globalization, the digital revolution, and brain research are revolutionizing not just education, but also the world of work. We live in a world today that we would not have recognized 30 years ago. This has changed how people do work, how much work we do, and what work we choose to do. The work that we find meaning in. The rest is easily automated. Our children, however, are growing up to live in a world 30 years from now. We don't know that world. It's an unknown world. The one skill that we know our children will need will be the ability to relearn all the time, to try things, to come back, read, try new things, come back, read, and learn more, and go back again. Reading comes in many forms. Books and Kindle are my children's favorites. There is also a beginning development of better reading apps, Amazon Rapids, Spellbound, etc. But they're not powerful yet. We don't know how and if they will truly develop. My 16-year-old son starts reading on anything he wants to know about by accessing information digitally. YouTube, websites, apps, but then always goes for the deep dive into books. That is how he teaches himself new things all the time. How we access information is surely changing, but how we learn deeply is not. Reading is truly the most powerful tool we can give our children. But for building this tool, we all need to reimagine how our children spend time. Children will read if we do. If we build a discussion around reading that leaves a lasting flavor. Sorry. If we build, I think we're okay. If we bring different genres of literature into our children's lives, bringing up single children in nuclear families is making the problem of time more complex. The world of after-school classes makes us constantly race to fill our children's time from fear of being left behind. But there's a right time and age for everything. We don't need to rush into things earlier and earlier. We don't need to be dragged into that constant noise. The world of scores is now scary, with every small percentage point mattering, and scores do matter. But the amount of time spent beyond school in coaching and tuitions as children go older is sad. That perfect score will get our children the right number, into the right college, and then to the right job after that. But that perfect score is not the only thing that will prepare our children for that unknown world, for being a thinker, for making the right choices in life. And education, after all, is not the filling of a bucket, but the lighting of a fire. Creating calm and quiet within our days in schools and in homes is what creating rooms for thinking, reflecting, questions, seeking answers, discussions, deep conversations, all of that is what sparks that fire. Presentism is a disease that we can avoid. David Armitage at Harvard warned against presentism, a belief that today's time and challenges are unique. The world has indeed changed, but not that much if you really think about it. We can get ourselves very busy with everything, activities, places, things, options to fill our children's and our own time with. But if you really think about it, children need to do little else other than be powerful seekers of knowledge, knowing themselves and what they want to know more of, knowing how to find that knowledge and being able to absorb it. What better tool can there be than reading? Deep, calm, and continuous reading for many hours a day is our aim for all children. Activity books are not reading. They will not ever be an introduction to reading, even for a reluctant reader. Popular fiction is something that children can and do read easily, but there have to be limits to that too. Unless children widen that reading preference, it doesn't add much to their minds, their imagination, or ability. Therefore, NLF, a place where we all get to know about children's literature in all its grandeur and reality, to recognize what characters stay with us and thus choose books and stories that leave a lasting relationships with characters. What the evolving trends in children's literature are, and therefore bring that richness of literature from many lands and times, genres and writing styles to develop rich reading tastes, to know whether or when to worry about dark themes in children's literature. We will also hear about the gaming world, about how the gaming world is moving from entertainment to a focus on learning. Powerful children's authors will share with us why they write what they do. We will end the day with a discussion on raising readers for life, and I suspect that we will again hear that reading is a social habit. We also hope that we will send away our authors and creators with our questions from what we wish for our children. I welcome you all to NLF 2017. We will soon start our first panel with the basic question, why read? But before that, because we're a school, our students will continue to share their relationship with books and reading for a few minutes. I'll invite Kriti and Ida to come up.
Reading transports us to a makeshift world of beauty and intrigue. It feels like waking up to a dreamscape.
Which, by the way, is a word coined by Sylvia Plath in her 1958 poem, The Ghost's Leave-Taking. Once we complete a book, we would have learned a lesson for life.
My name is Kriti, and standing here with Ida, we would like to share what literature honestly means to us, how it has changed us, how it has taught us, and how it has shaped us. Everyone defines reading differently. For some, it's pleasure. For some, it's research. For some, it's entertainment. And for some, it's life.
For some, the start of this journey may even be sitting on their mother's laps or fighting with their sibling to turn the page of the book.
Every journey is different, and every story is unique. If you asked me about a year ago,
I would say my favorite place at home was the couch, where I would slump with a book in my hands and my mom panicking that I would strain my neck. I have always been fond of reading, and in fact, I wanted to be a writer someday. I would lose myself in a book and become part of the story till something pulled me back into my world.
but then I started to change. I would put on a great piece of literature on a flash to watch the movie, and rather than reading a book before going to bed, I would find myself reaching for my phone. Reading became more of a chore than an activity that I actually found pleasure in doing, and I'm positive that I'm not the only one in this audience who has fallen down this hole. Yes, I can see some smiles emerging on your faces. All of us have those long reading lists that we prepare every single year, but how much of that is actually accomplished? I honestly didn't give this change in myself much thought until a few weeks ago when I started reading a book by one of my favorite YouTubers. I
I thoroughly enjoyed it and tried to force my parents into reading it, but that book is still lying on their bedside with only a single chapter completed. This was when I understood that this was actually what I was doing. I was closing and shutting down the creative and literary side of me, which had been my companion for all these years.
The one which met Moonface while climbing the magic faraway tree.
The one which enacted the pilgrim while reading Little Women.
The one which solved mysteries with the Secret Seven.
I was pushing away the girl who explored the world and met the most interesting people while lying on the sofa in her living room.
It was only then when I once again regained my love for reading. I realized that reading is a way to learn, experience, and explore. When you read, you're free. Free to choose which part of the world you want to go into. Free to choose which genre you want to experience. And free to choose which character you're in a mood to play. All of us enjoy freedom, don't we? This is what makes the book different to every single person. This is because when you read, you put a part of yourself into the story.
I would say a movie is like Google Maps. It gives you instructions on where exactly to go and how to get there, while a book is like a compass. It gives you a general direction, but you choose where and how you want to carry on. I cannot count the number of times I've put down a great book just to sit and imagine what the character's like or what I would have done in that situation.
Movies are also meant to end. They tell you what to think, what to imagine, what to see, and what to find. In other words, it gives you all the answers. But reading literature leaves you with more room for thought, imagination, and exploration when the author shares his worldviews and experiences with absolute intimacy.
We would like to conclude by saying that although we may lose ourselves in books, it is also the only place that we truly find ourselves. My cheeks turn red when I read a love story.
My knees tremble when I read about the ghost in a haunted house. Because when we read, we live every word. This is why we are happy to be taking part in the Neev Literature Festival in honor of appreciating and incorporating all kinds of literature into our lives.
And don't forget to love to read and read to love. Thank you.